let's get right into something special. In a moment, you'll hear about a dime that looks ordinary at first glance, but can quietly turn into a treasure in your palm. Today's spotlight falls on two seemingly humble dimes, minted just a few years apart, yet hiding stories and price tags that can surprise even seasoned collectors. We'll start with the 1996 one dime, an issue you might have spent pocket change on decades ago, then shift smoothly into its 1999 counterpart, which boasts its own cast of quirks and values. No gimmicks, no overblown promises, just the real deal on how these little silver-colored discs can mean big money if you know what to look for. The 1996 dime began its life amid a fairly routine run by the U.S. Mint, but it holds more than face value for those who know its secrets. Back in the mid-90s, coinage production was humming along, circulating dimes, quarters, nickels, and pennies by the hundreds of millions. Yet within that mass, certain 1996 dimes slipped through with tiny errors or exceptional strikes that make them stand out. When you hold one of these in hand, look beyond the smooth rim and read the surfaces like a detective. Minute doubling, a shifted mint mark, or a faint die crack can send the value leaping from a few cents into the tens or even hundreds of dollars. Tracing its roots, the 1996 one dime carries the same lineage as Franklin Roosevelt's profile, first introduced in 1946. The design honors FDR's legacy, his fight against polio and leadership through World War II. And by 1996, the portrait was as familiar as your own reflection. But what makes a particular 1996 dime rare isn't the date itself. It's the accidental variations that crept in during production. These minting mishaps, whether from worn dies, misaligned presses, or lapping that didn't remove all the residue, are the very things that catch an expert's eye and turn a common issue into a prized collectible. Let's talk specifics. One of the most sought-after varieties is the 1996 D over S mint mark shift. Originally struck with the Denver D mark, a faint San Francisco S beneath it sometimes remains visible when the die wasn't fully cleaned after an earlier run. You might see a ghostly second letter just below the D, especially under magnification and proper lighting. Another key tell is die doubling on the date and rim. Subtle, but unmistakable once you know to look. If that doubling is pronounced enough, grading services will label it DDO, deep die doubling, and auction paddles can race into three-figure territory. Auction records confirm how potent these details can be. A handful of 1996 dimes with deep die doubling or pronounced mint mark shifts have crossed the block for anywhere between $150 and $450 in the past few years. One remarkable piece, graded MS67 Plus by a top service, realized $520 when it showed exceptionally sharp doubling on both the date and the rim, plus unbroken surfaces free of any bag marks. That sale happened in late 2023, reminding us that demand for high-end error coins remains robust even as other market segments cool. Condition plays a huge role in value. A circulated 1996 dime with a whisper of doubling might fetch just $1 or $2 from a dealer who spots it in pocket change. In mid-grade uncirculated grades, MS60 to 63, values can jump to the $10, $25 range if the error is visible but not dramatic. Break into MS64 and above, with sharp doubling and proof-like surfaces, and you're looking at a baseline of $50, climbing steeply as grade and rarity intensify. Mint states 66 examples, and especially those slabbed with a plus designation, are the ones that truly chase record prices. Beyond errors, there's another intriguing story. Some 1996 dimes were struck on slightly off-composition planchets, with copper-rich or zinc-rich alloys yielding a subtly different hue. These color variations can be so faint you need direct sunlight or a loupe to detect them, but dedicated specialists prize these oddballs. When authenticated, they can command an extra 20 to 30% over the standard error coin price, proof that even the tiniest difference in metal mix can tip the scales. Collectors also swap tales about finding full bands on 1996 Roosevelt dimes. That term refers to the horizontal bands on the torch's flame being fully separated and sharply struck. In error coin circles, a full torch band, dime with clear delineation on all 6 bands can add another layer of premium, sometimes doubling the price compared to a similar error coin without full bands. It's a layer of nuance that keeps serious collectors and savvy owners on their toes. If you've got a jar of dimes on the shelf, the first step is a careful visual scan under a loupe, focusing on the date, mint mark area, and the torch's bands. Tilt the coin slowly under strong light to reveal hidden doubling or a secondary mint mark. Next, compare against reference photos from reputable grading services or error coin guides. If you spot any suspicious doubling or smudged mint marks, consider sending the piece in for professional grading, because the difference between an uncertified $5 find and a certified $200 sale often comes down to that third-party opinion. One particularly charming anecdote involves a retiree who discovered a 1996 RPM repunched mint mark dime in his change at a diner. He almost spent it. Instead, he posted photos on a forum, learned its story, and consigned it, ultimately collecting $375 for a coin he thought was worth only 10 cents. It's these real-world moments, when everyday people realize the extraordinary potential in their loose change, that keep the hobby alive and buzzing. As we wrap up our look at the 1996 one dime, remember, rarity lives in the details. A dime that seems unremarkable can suddenly leap into collectible heaven with the right combination of error, strike quality, and preservation. If you handle coins regularly, make a habit of checking Roosevelt dimes from the mid-90s for those telltale signs. You never know when one little twist of metal will turn your pocket change into a standout prize. Next up, we'll shift gears gently into the 1999 one dime, another date that, on its surface, most folks pass by without a second thought. But those in the know recognize that the final year of the millennium brought its own batch of quirks, errors, and surprises. Stay tuned for the lowdown on what makes that 1999 dime a must-watch for collectors and owners alike. The 1998 Roosevelt dime might look ordinary at first glance, just like any other change you might have handed to a cashier at a gas station in the late 90s. But a small handful of these dimes have turned out to be anything but ordinary. While the 1996 W was a deliberate collector's piece, the 1998 dime's fame comes from a mistake, a very specific, rare kind of error that caused a quiet buzz when it was first discovered. We're talking about the 1998 P-proof reverse dime, a variety that's now one of the most sought-after Roosevelt dime errors of the modern era. Let's break down what makes this coin such a unicorn. In a typical production year, the U.S. Mint produces 2 major types of coins: standard circulation strikes and special proofs made for collectors. The proof coins are struck with specially polished dies and blanks, creating that mirror-like surface and sharper detail. The regular circulation coins? They're made for speed and volume, not beauty. But in 1998, at the Philadelphia Mint, something unusual happened. A small number of circulation strike dimes, bearing the P mint mark, were struck using a proof reverse die. To the average person, this sounds minor. But for serious collectors, this is a big deal. Proof reverse dies are designed with different finishing, deeper details, and more defined elements, especially on the reverse side. On the 1998 dime, the difference is most noticeable in the flame of the torch and the sharpness of the lettering. Compare it side by side with a normal 1998 P dime, and you'll see the difference almost immediately. The torch flame has fuller, more distinct segments, and the lines on the branches and lettering pop in a way they just shouldn't on a business strike coin. It's subtle, but once you know what to look for, it's unmistakable. Now, this wasn't an error that was advertised or even discovered right away. It took years for collectors to piece it together. By the time the difference was recognized, most of these proof reverse dimes were already mixed into circulation. That means they could have been in rolls, coin jars, change drawers, anywhere. There's no record of how many were made, and the Mint never officially acknowledged the mix-up, which adds a bit of mystery and edge to the hunt. Estimates suggest only a few thousand exist, maybe less. That scarcity alone has driven up demand. So how do you know if you've got one? It's not about the obverse. The front looks just like every other 1998 P dime out there. You have to flip it and study the reverse details. The torch flame is your first clue. On the proof reverse, it looks slightly separated and more refined than on a standard issue. You'll also want to examine the font. On the proof reverse, the letters in United States of America and 1 dime are cleaner, sometimes slightly more angular or bold-looking, compared to the more rounded appearance on the standard version. If you're unsure, side-by-side comparisons online can be helpful, but to be 100% confident, sending it to a grading service like NGC or PCGS is the way to go. They'll certify the variety and assign a grade, which can significantly increase its value. Speaking of value, this is where it gets exciting. A regular 1998 P dime is worth exactly 10 cents. No surprises there. But a 1998 P with the proof reverse? Depending on condition, you're looking at anywhere from $300 to $1,500, sometimes more. Certified MS-66 and MS-67 examples have sold at auction for well over $1,000. In 2021, one graded MS-67 by PCGS sold for $1,495. And that's without any fancy marketing, just because collectors knew what they were looking at. Condition, as always, plays a huge role. Since these were circulation strikes, many found in the wild show signs of wear, pocket scratches, smudges, and dings. A circulated proof reverse 1998 P might still bring in a couple $100, depending on how well it's held up. But uncirculated ones, especially those in MS-65 or higher, are where the real value kicks in. If you happen to have a coin roll or mint set from that year lying around, it might be worth revisiting with a fresh set of eyes or a magnifying glass. One of the more fascinating elements of the 1998 proof reverse discovery is how grassroots it was. This wasn't a revelation from the mint or a newsletter announcement. It was the coin-collecting community that uncovered it. Collectors comparing their coins, posting close-up photos, discussing torch detail online, slowly realized something didn't add up. The result? One of the most thrilling discoveries in modern U.S. coinage. It's a reminder that even decades after a coin's release, new varieties can still surface, and knowledge really is power when it comes to numismatics. Interestingly, no similar proof reverse mix-ups have been confirmed for other denominations that year, making the 1998 P dime even more of a lone anomaly. It wasn't part of a broader series of mistakes. It was a one-off, an accidental gem that probably occurred when a proof die got mistakenly used in the production line for business strikes. Maybe it was a rushed replacement, maybe a human error. Either way, the resulting coins escaped into the world, hiding in plain sight. For collectors aged 40 and up, especially those who've been holding on to coins from the late 90s, this dime offers a compelling reason to check old boxes and bankrolls again. You might not have realized what you were holding. The lesson here? Errors don't need to be dramatic to be valuable. Sometimes, it's the subtle variations, the things you only catch if you really know the design, that turn a 10-cent coin into a 4-figure collectible. So to recap, the 1998 P-proof reverse dime isn't flashy, wasn't intentional, and can't be spotted without a careful eye, but it's absolutely one of the most exciting discoveries in modern Roosevelt dime history. And if you happen to come across one, it's not just a good find. It's the kind of thing that reinvigorates a collection and reminds us why we pay attention to the small details. Let's wrap this up. The 1996 W dime and the 1998 P-proof reverse dime couldn't be more different in how they came to be. One a deliberate inclusion for collectors, the other a mysterious error that escaped into the wild. But both represent that special kind of numismatic thrill, the quiet, almost unnoticed coin that turns out to have a powerful story, unexpected value, and a legacy that grows with time. Keep looking closely, because sometimes the most valuable coins aren't rare because of how few were made, but because of how few people noticed.